In this video, we'll teach you how to hone your writing skills by employing the top tricks of the trade from some established full-time writers. Let's get started. If you are serious about becoming a better writer, the accumulation of vocabulary, sentence structure, and ways of expressing ideas is critical. Employ the 10,000 hour rule by familiarizing yourself with hundreds of books by the best authors in the world. Doing so, you will soak up the language needed to become a good writer. It will be like taking classes with the world's best teachers. It will be hard not to improve. But becoming a better writer mostly comes down to practice. Write a lot, write daily, and write many different things. The most successful writers in the world all agree that writing works like a muscle. The more you work at it, the more it develops. And the more you immerse yourself in the literature, the better you will be at reading, writing, comprehension, and creative thinking, all important traits of an established and successful writer. That's why enrolling in classes like English literature, creative writing, online writing masterclasses, or journalism 101 is a great way to hone your writing skills. Some write daily, some write months at a time, though none of this matters. What matters is getting the words on paper. Free flow writing, or a non-interrupted period of unfiltered writing, is what many of us can use to get their ideas out of the mind and onto paper as fast as possible. Use this method to break writer's block. Just write and then focus on the editing process later. You'll find this same pattern with many of the greatest authors. The more they do, the more greatness they achieve. Why? Because they're putting the effort in to get better, but they're also learning all the time by trying new things constantly, and the number of works they create increases their chances of success. Stephen King has been known to write 6 pages or 2,000 words each and every day. With almost 2,200 pages a year, there's bound to be some excellent ones in there. When people say that publishing is a numbers game, I'm pretty sure they're not alone. To all you new writers out there struggling to get noticed, you're probably just not submitting enough. So write more, edit more, and submit more. Try writing in different styles and from different perspectives. For example, write a short story however you want, and then come back and write the same story, but from a secondary character's perspective. Or, for an even harder exercise, switch from the first person to the third person and vice versa. You can also change how you write to tap into and use other parts of your brain. Writing by hand is far slower and more cumbersome than typing, and we cannot possibly write down every word we read or hear. Instead, we automatically go into listen, digest, and summarize mode, which helps us to succinctly capture the essence of the information. This forces us to cut out the unnecessary or fluff and focus on the meat of our ideas in our writing. During the editing process, try reading your work out loud, not just in your head. Copywriters and advertisers have used this technique for years, but it isn't as popular with novelists or nonfiction writers. No matter where you are in the writing process, listening to your work in your voice will catch errors, word use, and pacing better than any other first pass method seen before. The practice of wrapping up each day by journaling a couple of lines is an excellent practice to undertake as a growing writer. Not only does it force you to reflect on the big takeaways from each day, this helps the learning process, memory, and recall, but it teaches you how to be brief and to cut straight to the bone with your words. Writing these snippets help exercise an important writer's muscle essential to the craft. You quickly recognize the power of each word and the necessity to distill the message down to its barest parts, because each line needs to pack a punch. It's a great practice for identifying overall themes and writing powerful closing lines. When something isn't working, it's tempting to give up, but you need to think about the way growth happens. The move to higher levels of skill is often preceded by a stage in which nothing appears to be happening. In fact, during this time, several sub-skills are developing. When those skills reach critical mass, they combine to produce a leap forward, followed by accelerated development. In the early days of building a new skill, progress seems slow, and patience and persistence are essential. But eventually, the skill breaks breaks through as unconscious learning is slowly connecting the dots, and a craft that was once difficult and unnerving becomes easy and profound. There's a tendency to tell new writers they have to write about one thing and in one genre, and this can be debilitating. Poetry or fiction, non-fiction or narrative, expository or descriptive. In reality, there are no boundaries to your writing, just that it be yours, your voice, and your story. Be your creative self. Don't be bound by the superficial boundaries that people make on their writing. Explore your voice by getting outside your comfort zone and being true to your unique story. Neil Gaiman was quoted as saying, read anything. Read the things they say are no good for you, and the things they claim are junk. You'll find what you need to find, just read. Encouragement comes from the authors, ideas, and stories that you read. During brainstorming sessions, sit and read until a new idea strikes you. Just read more, and you'll find out exactly what you need. The healthiest writers get out of their rooms, out of their chairs, and out of their heads often, and those experiences enlarge their characters and inform their writing. The more they see and hear of people, the more they read, and the more things they do, the bigger their repertoire of subjects, characters, and situations to write about. Creativity is just connecting ideas or concepts that didn't exist before. In new writers' works, it's very common to see every single line of dialogue attributed. For example, Jill said, Mary asked, Mike proclaimed, or Steve screamed. But you don't need that. As long as you establish the order of dialogue, you only need to re-establish who is talking often enough to keep things from getting confusing. This means that attribution is not needed for every single line of dialogue, especially if it's a straight back and forth between two people. Just a new line or new paragraph is enough to get the point across that the other character is speaking. If single, concise lines of dialogue get boring, try adding beats to improve flow and give a backstory to the conversation. A beat is just a small bit of action that's attached to a line of dialogue. Like John slammed his fist on the table, his nostrils flaring. I told you, I'm not going. The dialogue here shows that John is angry, but it doesn't tell you that. The dialogue and the beat are in the same paragraph, and each paragraph denotes a new speaker, keeping the flow and connecting you to the characters because you are shown it rather than just told it.